Literally none of you have asked, what is inside my camera bag? Well, I'm about to show you. Before we talk about gear, we've got to talk about the camera bag. Now, no camera bag is perfect, but I found the Lowepro ProTactic 450AW a pretty close match. It doesn't look like a typical camera bag. It's nice and comfortable on the back, and more importantly, it holds all of my gear. Okay, lenses. First up, Canon 50mm 1.4. This is a great lens. Most people buy a 50mm lens when they start out for good reason. It is a useful lens. Now, if you take part in a project like Project 50, as Rick Nunn made me do, you will learn the strengths and weaknesses of this lens very quickly. I use this for everything when I started out. Today, it doesn't really get a huge amount of use. It kind of sits in the camera bag, and I'll bring it out when a 35 is just too wide, or 135mm is too long. But yeah, solid lens, had it for years, will never get rid of it, love it. Second up, this is my second oldest lens. It is the Canon 135mm f2.L. It is just perfect. It is massive, it has a huge front element, look at that. And its colour rendition is perfect, the background bokeh is sublime, and it focuses telepathically quick. Now, I use this a lot. I use this for hero shots, for features. It just isolates the car from the background that much more, and it's really nice. It is also useful for when you're on track. It gives you a little extra reach, which is amazing. Now, if you're shooting on a crop sensor camera, this turns into around a 216mm f2.L lens, which is a lovely, lovely focal length. You will get some amazing shots with that. Can't recommend this lens enough. 100% would buy again. Coming up next is my Canon 35mm f2. Now, this is an old design lens. It came out way before most of the other lenses that you see here, and as such, it does have one pretty strong caveat. You cannot shoot high frame rate with this. So if you're wanting to do those panning shots, click, 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 it's not gonna work. It'll do a much slower frame rate because of its old design. That being said, this is fantastic. 35mm on a full frame camera is pretty much the ideal focal length. I leave this on my camera for about 90% of the time. If I'm going traveling, I will probably just use this. If I'm walking around town, I'll just use this. I use this so much, and I really love this lens. What I use it for features wise, is pretty much anything. You can get some medium length focal lengths for the interior. You can get some nice atmospheric shots of the car. It's also great for punching in on details. At f2, it gives you that nice rendition of bokeh in the background, which is really useful. It's great for portraits, it's great for landscapes, great for everything. My design is a bit old in the tooth now, so I'm probably going to look at replacing it. There's two that interest me. It's either the Canon 35mm f2 IS or the Sigma 35mm 1.4. I'm on the fence as to which one I want to get. On one hand, I really like bokeh. On the other hand, image stabilization is really useful, and I quite like 35mm as a focal length for when doing car-to-car shooting. So I'm a bit undecided as to what to get. I'd love to know what you guys think on that one, but 35mm, can't recommend it enough. Brilliant focal length. Then the next lens that I bought after that is the Canon 300mm f4.L. Now, this is a pretty damn decent lens. This is my track lens. This is what I take everywhere with me and shoot on every single track with. You can't really get much better with this. It focuses pretty damn fast. Not as fast as the 135mm, but it's amazingly quick. It also tracks really well, and it has this built-in lens hood, which is actually really, really handy. I keep a polarizer on there at all time to cut through that glare on the windscreen and also make the colours a bit more vibrant. It has two modes of image stabilization, so you've got the generic one, and you've also got step 2, which is for panning. That's what I leave in all the time. So this is great for those head-on shots when the car's coming towards you. It's also great for panning as well, and it gives you that extra reach at 300mm. making it very, very useful. Now, I would love to go for the 300mm f2.8, but it's just too much money and I can't afford this. I actually bought this off of a friend, Mike Newland, and I 100% recommend getting this if you're going to shoot at a track a lot. I've not actually used it for portraits. I suppose you could. It's a bit antisocial. You'll probably have to be about 15 or 20 meters away from your subject, so maybe a bit of street portraits will be good with that lens. My final lens, this is the 24mm f2.8 IS. Now it's tiny, dinky little lens. Now yet again, I bought this secondhand, actually off Gumtree. This is great. I use this for interiors, engine bay shots, wide action and environmental shots. It's also good for panning, so you can get those like panning shots showing all of the atmosphere. So if you want to get like the grandstands, the track, the Armco barrier with a tiny little car in there, that looks really cool as well. I also use this a lot for tracking shots, so when like shooting from car to get those rolling shots, this is really handy, and the image stabilization in this gives you 4 stops of stabilization, which is super, super helpful. Then coming up next, we have my Canon 5D Mark III. This is my workhorse. I've had it for about 6 years now. It has seen better days, and I'm not sure what the shutter count on it is. You can see that I've got it gripped. That gives me the vertical grip, and also 2 extra batteries. I love this camera. I know all of its quirks, I know its pros and its cons, but I trust it. And that's the main thing you want to know when you're going shooting, is whether you can trust your camera gear. And this, I trust a lot. I am probably going to upgrade at some point. Not sure if it's going to be in the next year or this year, but I look to go something like a 1DX or maybe even the new Canon EOS R that's been released. I'm kind of interested in seeing what's coming out lately, and yeah, so when this thing dies, I'll probably upgrade to one of those camera systems next. The other thing that I always keep in my camera bag is my Canon TC80 N3. This is my intervalometer. This is what I use for light painting. This allows me to release the camera shutter without actually touching the camera. I can also program in the delay that I need, so if I need to get 10 seconds away from the camera to start shooting, I can program in that delay, or if it's 7 or 5 or 15 or a minute or however long I choose, I can set that on here. I can also just leave the camera in bulb mode, and that means that I can program in any length of shutter speed I need, or I can get someone else to hold it and just press down this little clicky button in the front for as long as I need it. One recent purchase that I also got for my camera gear is this GoPro Hero 5 Sessions. Now this is a lovely little camera. Image quality is pretty good, not as good as a DSLR, but I got a hot shoe mount for it, so I can mount it on top of my camera to capture time lapses when light painting or film whilst I'm shooting. I've got a ton of other mounts for it, so I can grip it to things, stick it to things. GoPro make any accessory you need. It's great. I've used it for inboard action for cars. I've used it for filming myself whilst on track. And it's just a nice little camera to capture the behind the scenes that's going on, and it's waterproof as well, which is amazing, so you don't need an additional body for it, so you can actually just dunk it straight in the water and have no issues. Now audio is okay. You can buy an adapter which opens up the battery door, but that means you need to leave that open, which gets rid of the waterproof quality, and I don't really think I'll be using this for vlogging. I'll be using this little guy, which is the Canon M50, my latest little purchase. It's a great little camera. Hopefully the image quality is pretty decent. I'll do a little walk around that later on. The last little accessory is this Manfrotto Pixie. Now this is really quite good. It's great for this camera because I can just mount it up on there and hold it out and film myself with it. I can also mount the GoPro to it and many other things, like I got this light up here which I mount to that, and it also gives me that little bit of extra reach when I'm out light painting. Nice little accessory, and only 15 quid I do believe. So that's my camera gear. Hope you guys found that useful. Don't forget, if you want to know any more about the gear or you want to buy it on yourself, it's all in the description down below. If you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up. If you want to know more, send me a comment, and if you're new around here, don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one.